Yeah.
Okay, so now that you can hear me, I welcome all of you to this unique session, and we are proud to have a superstar as a speaker,
So
super
please.
guru as an introductory, who has formed the Arbitrators Association organization, a Section 8 company, Pense sir. Under his blessings, we said that let us hold the first program, and to my luck and our Arbitrators Association's luck, we got a superstar Anuradha Gupta ji. She's from Delhi, and I would say it was my real luck that I came across her. I think not even a month back, but the amount of knowledge she carries is amazing. And generally, somebody will take, I think, 50 years to acquire that much knowledge, is my concern. So I have kept it for my next birth, for the knowledge what she has got.
So please.
She is a
Highly honored, sir.
fellow company secretary, and she is registered valuer of securities and financial asset, and she is a insolvency professional, and she is also arbitrator at Bombay Stock Exchange and National Stock Exchange. I am not getting not this is not my first opportunity to hear her, because we last 2 days have been talking daily almost, and therefore the moment I realized that Pensesser is starting the organization or started the organization, I immediately said the first program has to be a speaker like Anuradha ji. So she kindly agreed to this lecture. So on behalf of Arbitrators Section 8 company, I welcome Anuradha ji, and I don't have to tell you what she will deliver, because she is anyway has done solid groundwork on that, which I am aware of. And I luckily peeped across one of her lecture yesterday also, which was going on into the ICMA RVO, because lecture was after her lecture. And since I joined early, I said, okay, let us catch up some more things. Okay.
That I
And
was not aware, sir.
what I did was I made my video off
Okay.
deliberately, so that I don't get conscious and you don't get conscious. So having said that, welcome to Anuradha ji, and I am, before starting that, I'm going to hand over to Pense sir for briefing everybody about the new Arbitrators Organization Association started and how it is going to benefit the profession. And after that, after a short 15-20 minutes by Pense sir in terms of how you can become member, how you should become member, then the whole thing is open for Anuradha ji, including 1 hour 30 minutes. And some of the participants had told me in advance that we have a lot of questions. So, you are going to have the number of questions. I'm sure for everybody it will be a treat. So, with that, over to Pense sir first to formally declare about this Section 8 company to the various participants. I know that the number of participants in this register are huge number, and even now people are, every minute on my mobile I'm seeing admit. Okay, and we had a huge registration, already a century I think, and the lot of SFA valuers are interested, and to my interest I found a lot of other valuers also are in. So obviously, the charisma of Anuradha ji and Pense sir together is going to make a big mark in this profession. Let us welcome all the audience, and Anuradha ji, welcome and thanks for agreeing to our request. And now I hand over to Pense sir. Pense sir, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Hello.
Yes,
Hello.
Princess sir, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. So, and I hope that most of the people who join us will benefit from this program in two ways. First, let me give them a background of this organization, why I thought about it, and why I started this organization. For last 4 years, I was working as the president of Practicing Valuers Association, and uh, last 3 years, I was the director as well as managing director of Practicing Valuers Association, and I mean uh, PVAI Valuers Professional Organization, which is an extended arm of IBBI, Insolvency Bankruptcy Board of India, where I got a lot of insight into what is happening in the world of valuers and valuation. And at the same time, I was keeping an eye on the various developments they were taking place in the field of arbitration because uh, I'm also arbitrator in High Court of Bombay since 2003, and I realized that these
Pandit Sahab, your voice is not
and
clear.
in fact is become a valuer. And similarly, if he has a good practice as a engineer as well as valuer, then the next best thing that can happen to him is to become a educator. Yeah, I think this is unstable. My internet. Somebody is muting me time and again. I don't know. So can you listen to me now?
Yes, sir, you are
Yeah,
audible.
yes,
Yes,
sir.
yes.
So uh, at that time, what was going on in IBBI, I realized that there are many insolvency professionals as well as those people who became a valuer either as a valuer of land and building or plant and machinery or for uh, financial assets. They very few could clear those exams, but in spite of that, only few got lot of assignments, and many were still feeling that they are at the receiving end. So something has to be done because all these professionals had invested a lot of time, energy, and money in becoming a valuer. So I was just considering this that for the first time, what is happening parallelly is in that there was a report which was tabled by the parliament in which for the first time they recognized that who are the eligible arbitrators. So, in which they included chartered accountants, cost accountants, company secretaries, lawyers, engineers, and architects for the first time. And out of this entire professional, I think the most eligible people would be those who are also valuers or insolvency professionals. So this was a very big window, and something has to be done. So I initially started one Section 8 company, which is a no profit, no loss limited company, not private limited company, limited company, and we started asking for the membership from the professional. there was a good response. And most of the people then they said that yes, because this is a very good idea, we also it appealed to us, but then there has to be also some provision for the people who are the new entrants. Not that all professionals are die-hard uh, professional arbitrators. There are few who are very senior, very experienced, but there are also many who definitely needs initiation in this field. So this is the now beginning of this organization, which I think is a dire need in our country. Second thing was we started it in Nagpur for the simple reason. At present, there is only one organization which is existing for many years, and it is operating primarily in Delhi, Bombay, Chennai. Some attempts are also done by Institute of Chartered Accountants by providing some education in Hyderabad. But somehow that never picked up. I don't know why. So there is a big vacuum for all the professionals who want to enter into this new field. And I thought it is the right time that we should start this movement
Palandi ji, not audible. I think some issue with your internet connection.
Sir can probably switch off his camera, then I think slightly it will be better. If sir is there.
There are a lot of restrictions being put in.
Pindu sir, if you are there, you can just switch off the camera and then you can speak. Might be it will help.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello. Can you listen to me now? Yeah. So this is the background with which we have started. I hope that as and when this new law is implemented, most those institutions, along with the members who are coming from the various different backgrounds, will definitely be benefited. Today, what is happening is complex from the different, let us say, domain. Like if somebody who is from financial background, if there is a problem pertaining to say civil engineering or mechanical engineering, he is at disadvantage. But a good group which is under one institution who can channelize and help any arbitral proceedings to complete at the least possible time, and with the background of people from law, from arbitration, a lot of experience, as well as the location, which can be not only set only in Delhi or Bombay or Chennai, but in many other towns in India, will definitely benefit all the professionals as well as the litigants as well as the various courts in India. And I feel the scope is increasing day by day. Only the vacuum is there of professionals. With this background, I have started and I got many friends, people, professionals who joined me. Now, this is the very first session where I thought, let some very good professional speak about it, because what I have provided is only an you can say, concept, an idea, but it has to materialize with the absolute legal terms, and where not only our professionals will pick up in the new profession, and everyone in this game will benefit. So I think this is the background. There could be many questions from here, and Mr. Bhave, perhaps we can proceed with this. Thank you, everyone. Hello.
Yes, sir. So should I start now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you can.
So,
Most
yeah,
welcome.
thank you, sir. So
Please.
very good evening to everyone, to my all seniors and my colleagues and my friends. And thanks a lot to Bhave sir and Pense sir for giving me this opportunity. Rather, I'm very, very, very junior. You can say just a newcomer in this profession, and people like Anjan sir, and I really need to learn a lot from them. But yes, from whatever small experience I have for about 5 to 6 years, I would definitely like to share what are the situations, how the arbitration world is changing, and how, as a professional, we can get benefit out of it. Because what I suppose is that there is always an opportunity. It is on us how to grab it and how early we can grab it, right? So the earlier you move, the better position, the better placed you are in the new system, right? So I'll just first start with the small presentation, and then we can have a discussion. So I hope my screen is visible to everyone. Okay.
Yeah. Very
Thank you so much. So first of all, this webinar is on behalf of PTA arbitrators and co-hosted by RNB. So I'm really thankful to both of these organizations. So before we start with what are the current scenario in the arbitration, first we have to understand what is the alternate dispute redressal mechanism, which we know as ADR, right? So ADR is a mechanism by which we are resolving a dispute out of the court. We are not going to the court, because why? This situation came into picture that we all know what is the present situation of Indian court, right? So suppose you have you as a valuer, or let's say there is an architect, right? He is having some dispute with a client over some maybe some payment issue or non-performance of some work issue, and that person intends now to file an application or a civil suit against other party in the court. He can also very well understand what, how, and when he will going to get the justice. Sorry to say, really don't want to imagine that any of one of you has faced those situations. But yes, if anyone has faced those civil suits, I can very well understand, and you can very well understand what is the pain behind those civil suits, right? So what happened that now the parties, whenever they are entering into contract, right? The contracts are being governed by the Indian Contract Act. That is a very, you can say it is entirely ruling the commercial transactions. So whenever two parties are coming together for some work, for service agreement, whatsoever, they are drafting an agreement, they are entering into a contract. So nowadays, you can find that almost all prudent people, I wouldn't say 100%, but 90 to 95% people are switching over to an arbitration clause, because they all know that yes, we are in a commercial transaction with each other. And in case any dispute arises, if we plan to go to the courts, then we can understand that in our generation, we will be filing a suit and our grandchildren will be receiving the judgment. So that is actually not feasible for any professional, any businessman, any commercial person, right? So this was the reason why there was need of alternate dispute redressal mechanism, so that we are resolving our dispute in some alternate way, not going to the courts, right? So first, as I told you, the biggest thing is the overburdened Indian courts. Second is a lack of expertise in subject matter of dispute. Now, suppose you are a valuer, right? You have done some valuation and there is a dispute on that valuation. Some other party says that no, we don't agree and this is not the correct valuation, or somehow such type of dispute arises. Now you have filed a complaint in a civil court, right? Judge Sahab is in front of you. Judge Sahab is a BA, LLB, and maybe LLM, and maybe he has done a PhD in law. But does he have any argument about your valuation? No. So that is the reason why people are resorting to the alternate dispute redressal mechanism, because there, especially the arbitration, because there you can decide that who is going to decide your dispute. Now, you two people are there, they both know that the problem, core of the problem is the valuation, right? So now you two people will decide that yes, we are having some doubt, we are having some dispute. Let us appoint a very senior person who is very well versed of this valuation statistics to give a judgment that who is right, you or me, right? So that is the need. That is the basic essence of arbitration. So lack of expertise in subject matter of dispute. Third is the expensive litigation. With due regards to all advocates here, please mere upar koi case mat karna. But we all know the charges which are being taken by the advocates. So if you are going to file any suit with the civil court, you have to appoint an advocate, and the advocate is going to empty your pocket to a good essence. But in case of arbitration, you are not required. You can, but you are not required that you should appoint a advocate to represent your matter. You can in person go and sit in front of the arbitrator. Both the parties are there and they are just sharing their views, sharing their disputes, and you're resolving it, right? Then time consuming, we have already discussed. Flexibility in procedure, right? Now, if we talk about the civil suits, there is a lot of procedure involved. You have to go by the CPC, you have to go by the Evidence Act, Specific Relief Act, and blah, blah, number of acts are involved. But here, and you have to proceed accordingly, because we know there are commercial laws, and then there is a civil procedure code which gives us the pathway that how you are going to proceed. That is procedure itself says this civil procedure code. Whenever you are going to file any civil dispute, what is the procedure you are going to adopt, right? So that is the situation. Here, you don't have to follow the typical court procedures. You can decide with the two parties in consent with the arbitrator can decide that how you're going to do that procedure, right? So this is the next advantage. And then confidentiality. It is a room within a room process. You are doing whatever you are discussing. It is within a room between you 3 or 5 people whosoever are there. And accordingly, it is being decided, right? Now, if we see about the Indian courts, just have a glimpse about the current situation, how the courts are burdened with. India now has almost 4 crore pending cases, right? So if you are going to file, your number will be something 4 crore something, some few lakhs or some few thousands or few hundreds. So you have to wait till you get to that number. And now I don't know how many generations will pass, right? And then between this particular, the COVID period, the scenario changed. So before the COVID situation, it was say around 3.65 crores. And in between from 1st Feb to August 31, 2020, this is a figure available on the internet. I've taken same from them there. So it is like Supreme Court has seen a 3.6% rise in pending cases, High Court almost 12.4%, and District and Subordinate Court 6.6% approx. So they are already overburdened with a 3.4 CR. So you can just imagine what is the current scenario in the Indian judicial system, right? Now, if we talk about the alternate dispute redressal mechanism, it basically comprises of 4 methods, right? First is the negotiation, second is the mediation, third is the conciliation, fourth is the arbitration. So usually when we proceed, we try to follow in this manner only, right? So first, negotiation is always done between the 2 parties. Though Mr. A and Mr. B are having a dispute, so they try to negotiate with each other. Both are keeping their interest in front of each other, deciding, okay, theek hai, dispute hai, let us try to get into it come out to a conclusion instead of going to any legal procedure. So that is a negotiation, right? Second is the mediation. Now, suppose Mr. A and Mr. B decided that yes, we want to solve the dispute, but they are not able to come to a consensus. There is an ego problem, which happens many times. So what will they do? They will appoint a third person. He said, please sit down, listen to what we are saying. Or that is usually, when we see children in a home, if there are two children, they have a fight, they go to their mom or dad. Mama, ye ho gaya mere saath. Dekho, isne mujhe mara, ya isne mujhe mara. So now the mom is the mediator. She is deciding that who is the right person, who is the wrong child, what has to be done, and let them arrive to a conclusion. So that is basically a mediation process, right? Third is the conciliation. But yes, when you are reaching to a mediation and a mediator is acting, his decision whatsoever, we won't say decision, conclusion. His conclusion is not binding on the two parties, right? Third is the conciliation, where the mediator is there. He is helping those two parties to come to a conclusion, and whatever decision he is giving is binding on the parties, right? So that is a part of conclusion and for conciliation, and that the parties in advance have to decide that whatever Mr. X will say, we A and B will accept to it. So that is the conciliation. And the next is the arbitration. That is the final point. So arbitration is a dispute resolution mechanism in which a third party who is known as arbitrator is being appointed. Now, the advantage is that the order, the award, which basically in arbitration, we use the term award. So award given by the arbitrator is executable as a decree of the court. So once a minimum period has elapsed, the party can make an application to the court that, sir, this is my order. This person is not following. We want an execution order for this particular decree. So that will be granted. So it is almost equal to the order which is being passed by the court, right? So this we have already discussed. Now arbitration is governed by unilateral law. There were earlier, why basically need of arbitration was like, when the different countries started interacting with each other, trade businesses increased, more and more different countries coming to each other, investing, doing businesses, right? Now, there was always a matter like if there is any dispute, how we are going to resolve it. So by UN formed a model code of law for purpose of arbitration. So it was usually almost with some modifications, it was adopted by the member countries. So accordingly, India also adopted the model law on arbitration given by United Nations, right? So the Arbitration and Conciliation Act, which we are following in India, is a son or the daughter of that unilateral law, model laws, right? So here, if we want to invoke an arbitration, right? So the first thing is that there should be an arbitration agreement, right? Two parties, because you are going to resolve a dispute between two parties. So those two parties must have agreed in advance that yes, whatever we are doing, if there is any dispute out of that, in that case, we are not going to the court, but we will go to a third person who will be an arbitrator, and whatever decision he gives will be binding on us, right? So in that case, it can be in the same contract also. Suppose there is a service contract, you as a valuer, which frequently, if you can see the people who are doing the IBC cases, if you will see the scope of work given by the insolvency professional, majority of time, I think almost 98 or 99% of time, you will get an arbitration clause in that, because an IP knows that in case of dispute, it is very tough to do the court proceedings also, and simultaneously are going to this arbitration fulfilling those 180 plus 90 days timeline, right? So most of the cases you will be getting that arbitration clause. So it can be a separate in the same contract you will get an arbitration clause, or a separate arbitration agreement will be made, right? Now, what are the advantages of arbitration? Just I'm giving a brief overview, then we will discuss what are the basically professional avenues in this. So just for the knowledge of the people who are not much aware about the arbitration proceedings, but really they want to. That's why I'm giving this overview, right? So advantages of arbitration. So arbitration versus litigation. Litigation is something that we are doing through court process. That is a litigation, and arbitration we have already discussed. So usually it is a neutrality and mutuality in respect of first place of hearing. Suppose a case has been, as we know that the jurisdiction of the court is usually where the property to the dispute is existing. So you have to go to that place to file the court. Every time, every hearing you have to go. But in case of arbitration, both the parties can decide that, okay, we are residing here, our arbitrator Sahab is here, we will fix this place as a place of hearing. Language. You can choose the language. If you are residing in South, you can use a Tamil language for your entire proceedings. It is not necessary that you'll go by English or Hindi language, right? Then procedure. Obviously, you can come, as I told you, that in strict sense, CPC is not applicable, right? Then nationality in case of international arbitration, legal representation not required, not compulsory, but usually it happens that many a time, suppose the stake is involved is very high, then advocates are also coming into the picture, right? Then appointment of arbitrator as per the requirement of the nature of dispute, that we already discussed. Valuation is the subject matter of dispute, and a Mr. BA LLB is going to resolve that matter. That actually won't help you. So accordingly, you can decide what should be the qualification of the arbitrator, which arbitrator we are going to appoint. Suppose there is a clause. Right now we are discussing about the valuation. Suppose there was some construction related project. There was some problem in construction. Then you have not mentioned the person who will be appointed as arbitrator. Now you will decide that we'll go to some civil engineer. Let him say that what the dimensions we have used is correct or not. Let's appoint arbitrator as let's appoint some civil engineer, experienced civil engineer as an arbitrator, and let him decide what is the core of the dispute and who is the correct person. So accordingly, you can change, right? Then confidentiality, we have already discussed. Then decision is taken by the majority of the members of the tribunal. So usually if we see that how the arbitrators are appointed, by default, it is one arbitrator. Otherwise, it is a panel of arbitrator. But the law says that the panel should be an odd number of arbitrators, just to avoid the majority reason. So suppose two are into an agreement, so that will be the decision of the panel, right? So parties are free to decide on the number of arbitrators, should not be an even. But now suppose we have decided that we will go for arbitration, right? But nothing has been mentioned apart from it. So in case we have not mentioned any number of the arbitrator, the tribunal, in case even one person is acting as an arbitrator, he will also be called as tribunal. Sole arbitrator will be a tribunal, and 11 arbitrators are also called as a tribunal, right? So if in case they fail to specify the number, there will be a one person. Else, if suppose they decide that, okay, we will have a person tribunal as our arbitrators, in that case, they will appoint one arbitrator, both parties will appoint one arbitrator, and those two arbitrators will appoint a third arbitrator as their presiding arbitrator, right? And in case, suppose Mr. A and Mr. B are having some dispute. Now, there is an arbitration clause. Now, Mr. A has appointed, Mr. B is not responding to that. He is not agreeing to it. So in that case, Mr. A can make an application to High Court or the Supreme Court in case of international arbitration, and High Court in case of the domestic arbitration, to help them appoint an arbitrator. Now, earlier what used to happen, that the courts were themselves appointing the arbitrator. Now, the latest amendment says that there will be an Arbitration Council of India, ACI, right? And that Arbitration Council of India will recognize arbitral institutions, and those institutions will appoint the arbitrators. That's how our scope has increased. I'll discuss that a bit later. Right now, there are certain conditions, certain eligibilities have been given, that who cannot be an arbitrator, right? So it says that if you're having any conflict of interest with any of the party, you cannot be an arbitrator. You should be an independent person, and or you have some relationship with the matter of the dispute, or directly or indirectly interested in the dispute. In that case, you should not be appointed as an arbitrator. So whenever an arbitrator is being appointed, he has to give his consent, and he has to specify that, yes, I'm not connected with these persons, I'm an independent person, right? And further, it says that there are certain grounds which would guide whether circumstances exist which give rise to justifiable doubts as to independence on impartiality. So there is a particular schedule dedicated to it, which will help you understand that on what conditions, what are the situations in which you will be treated as not an independent person or impartial person. So that is governed by these two schedules. This is the process that I've already discussed, that two people are there, Mr. A and Mr. B. Now they both have entered into a contract. They have an arbitration clause. So in case any dispute arises, any of the party will invoke the arbitration clause, send a notice to the other party and say that now we want to invoke this arbitration proceedings. Both parties will appoint one arbitrator, and those two arbitrators will appoint a presiding arbitrator, and the arbitral proceedings will start. Now, if we talk about the outlook of the code, how courts see to the arbitral award, right? Now, courts have a pro-arbitration approach and enforcing valid arbitration agreements, right? So if you have, there is a proper arbitration agreement between two parties. So courts are saying that, see, you are having an arbitration agreement, please go for the arbitration. And order also, courts are not interfering unless and until there are certain specific grounds on which the courts will say that, yes, we will interfere in that. Usually courts are not interfering, right? So the arbitral award can be set aside by the court only in the following situations, like incapacity of the parties. You have entered a contract with a minor person or a lunatic person, that is as per Indian Contract Act. So initially your agreement is not valid, right? So in such cases, or arbitration is not as per the law, because law has prohibited certain situations under which you cannot go for the arbitration. So if you have taken those matter as a subject matter of dispute and you have done an arbitration, so in that case, court may interfere. Or you don't give notice for the appointment of an arbitrator, second party has not been informed. Arbitral award deals with a dispute not contemplating within the terms of arbitration. You have decided something, there can be a specific clause also for an arbitration that, okay, if there is any dispute regarding valuation, we will take the matter to the arbitration for nothing other you have specified. So in that case, also the court can interfere. Or the subject matter of the dispute is not capable of settlement. And last thing, award is in conflict with the public policy of India. So that is, India is above everything. So in case the court finds that, yes, somehow the public policy is being affected, they can set aside the arbitral award. So only under these limited conditions, the court is going to interfere in the arbitral award, right? Benefits we have already discussed. It is a cost-effective method, speedy settlement, expertise of arbitrator, no need of lawyers or representative, flexible, and avoidance of hostility. Now, there are certain situations in which cannot be decided by way of arbitration, right? So, insolvency matters, matrimonial matters, testamentary matters, industrial disputes, appointment of guardian for minor or lunatic, matter under criminal procedure code. So these are certain matters which cannot be referred to in arbitration. So if you are planning to get two people divorced by way of arbitration, then you cannot do, right? Now, this we have just understood what is the arbitration, what is ADR mechanism, what are the different parts of ADR mechanism, and a brief overview of the arbitration. Now we are just going to understand how, as a professional, we can get benefited from this entire new system. First is that most of the contracts executed today have an arbitration clause. Majority of contracts. Whenever, as a professional, you are, and rather, I would say, in fact, in my, whenever I do some valuation or any professional assignment, I religiously follow this method that I always include the arbitration clause in my agreement. Because really, it's very tough that in case, because as a professional, we know that we have to suffer many things. Many times our payment are not being made. Client is not providing information or something like that. Or client is threatening us. Any sort of thing can happen as a professional. So you have to be very clear that in case, because the best thing is, please imagine what can be the worst. So as a professional also, in case you don't plan to go to arbitration, in the field of arbitration, still I would say, if any contract you are entering, it is a very prudent practice to adopt an arbitration clause in your agreement, right? So different type of contracts like service contracts, contract with postpaid mobile company, insurance, JVs, shareholders agreement, loan agreement, government contracts. Most of the government contracts are now having the clauses of arbitration, because they all know that it is very tedious process. And in fact, one interesting thing, if you go for the SARFAESI Act, in that it has been specially mentioned that in case any dispute happens, though there is no arbitration clause, I think you must have an idea about the SARFAESI where asset reconstruction company is coming into picture. So in that case, if there is any dispute between the asset reconstruction company and the bank, though there is not an arbitration clause, still that matter will be referred for the arbitration, right? So there are certain enactments also which are specifically saying that in case any dispute matter for arbitration, because
Hello. Any problem at your end?
I think she got disconnected
Yeah, I think so.
from one of her line. Only screen is available.
Yeah.
Another line is disconnected.
Let us hope she joins.
Let us wait.
Till she comes back, perhaps we can discuss one or two questions. On chat. Yeah, she's here. Very good. Please continue, madam. You're still muted.
right?
Yeah.
I think there's some electricity issue in our place.
Yeah.
So it's creating a bit problem. Is it okay now?
Yes, yes. Please.
This we have already discussed, limited scope of it. So we were on this situation, right? Ad hoc arbitration versus institutional arbitration. So there are two types of arbitrations, basically broadly categorized. So ad hoc arbitration is where two parties come into picture. They themselves decide that yes, Mr. X is going to be the arbitrator and he is going to decide the matter, right? And institutional arbitrator is the scenario where some institution is coming into picture. You are having a dispute, you go to some arbitration institute like Indian Council of Arbitration. You say that this is our dispute, we want to get arbitration done for our dispute, right? In that case, that arbitral council institution will see your matter, allocate the matter to a proper person who is qualified to handle your matter, right? So that is the procedure. Now, since we know that under the new amendments, the act has constituted an arbitral council of India. It is still in very, you can say, nascent state. It still has to work, and entire infrastructure will come into process. And for that, really, I would congratulate Pense sir that he has taken a step at very right time. So till the time this entire infrastructure comes into picture, we will be already established arbitral institute, right? So congrats, sir, for that.
Madam, can you share the screen, please?
Screen is not shared.
No. When you come back, it has not come.
The screen is not shared.
Okay, sir. Just a second. I think because of that glitch only, it went that way. Is it okay now?
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Right. So in that case, there is an institutional arbitrator. So institutional arbitrations are usually preferred by the big corporates or the business people. They usually prefer to go to institutional arbitrators because they know that entire infrastructure will be provided by that institutions. They have their own bylaws, how to conduct the arbitration process. They have their own rule books according to which an arbitrator has to proceed. They are having a panel of qualified people. Like if you talk about Indian Council of Arbitration, they are having chartered accountants, company secretaries, engineers, and different type of people. So suppose you are not able to decide which arbitrator to follow, you can just go and make an application, and accordingly from their panel, you will be assigned an arbitrator on your request. So that is the advantage of institutional arbitration, right? Now, role of arbitrator. First thing is that to facilitate communication between disputants to guide parties toward mutual agreement. This is the toughest part. You have to communicate with those two problematic people You have to make them come to a consensus. You have to read their mind, what is going in their mind, right? Then second, clarify issues, concern, need and interest of all parties. Third is conduct initial meetings with the disputants. You have to conduct the initial meetings. Then settle procedural matters. If there is any procedural matters, fees and everything, that you have to decide. Set up appointments for parties to meet for conciliation or arbitration, right? So you have to set up appointments for the parties. Then interview claimants. If there's any claim is there, you have to understand that claim, agent or witnesses. Then prepare settlement agreement in case the situation is there that you see some chances of settlements. Apply relevant laws, regulation, policies. Now this is the most important thing. You have to be aware of the law. For an arbitrator, being an arbitrator, I won't say that you need to be a lawyer, but you should know the law, at least the basic law. Because if your arbitral award is not in accordance with the law, they're not saying that you have to follow the procedures, but the general law compliance should be there. You should give an opportunity. You should rely on the natural justice. You should give an opportunity of being heard to both the parties. So in that all scenario, you have to be very, very careful. You have to be aware of the law, right? Regulations and the precedents. What are the recent happenings in the arbitral world? What are the latest court judgments that you have to be aware of, right? Evaluate information from the documents. Your documents are being presented to you and you have to understand what are the relevant information and what are the waste information. So you need to understand that extraction process, right? Then arbitrators are usually, who are the arbitrators? They're usually the attorneys because they know the law. Second, business professionals. Third is the professional with wide experience and expertise in a particular field. So you are an expert person, you have some knowledge about a particular field, you can be an arbitrator. Then retired judges, they are always there. Many a times a tribunal is constituted in which there is, suppose there is some very technical matter, then technical members and the judicial members both comprise the arbitral tribunal. So in case of arbitral institutions, many a times, suppose there is a matter related to valuation and there is some point of law also involved. So accordingly, a tribunal will be constituted. So you have to be a part of that arbitral tribunal where you have to deal with maybe your co-panelists are the retired judges, maybe some senior professionals, maybe some bureaucrats are there. Bureaucrats are having good experience in handling these things. So as an arbitrator, when I'm dealing, I think I've worked at least with 10 to 12 judges of High Court, even Chief Justice of UP High Court, MP High Court. I have worked along with them. And it's a really very learning experience because you need to get an opportunity to understand the intricacies, how actually this process is done and how it is being interpreted by the judges, right? So these are the situations, these are the people who can be the arbitrators. Now it says that they are impartial third persons. So obviously you have to be impartial. You should hear the party to the dispute. Arbitrators may work alone or in panel. They can work alone, or as I told you, as a sole arbitrator or as a panel. 3 panels, usually it is of 3 panels, but it can be 5, it can be 7, it can be 11, depending on the gravity of the case. Then decide matter for which arbitration may be required by law for some claim and disputes or voluntary resorted by parties. As I told you about the surfacey matter only. So in that situation, arbitration is mandated by the law, right? But there may be voluntary situations also. Usually that happens that there's an agreement, there is some default dispute by the parties, and they are invoking the arbitration proceedings, right? Then for the conciliators, the opposing party must decide in advance if they will be bound by the conciliator's recommendation. As I told you that when you're doing conciliation, it is not binding, though it is binding, but you have to, the parties also have to agree that they will go by the order of the conciliator. Now, skill of an arbitrator. This I'll really want to elaborate along with my experience also. So first is the critical thinking skills. Samne, the person who is sitting in front of you, you cannot just rely on what he is saying. You have to be very skeptical in your approach. You have to understand that what is going in his mind, what decision you are going to give. Many a times it happens, right? Third is interpersonal skill. Now I'll give one example of mine. I was doing an arbitration at National Stock Exchange, right? Am I audible? There is any problem in my internet connection?
Yes, yes. Okay, okay, madam.
Yeah.
Yes. So what happened that it was an arbitration matter of National Stock Exchange. There was some dispute relating to this unauthorized trading in the account of a person. Now that gentleman was a very senior person. He was 70 plus. Now that person was sitting in front of me, and the company representative, 2 people from the company, they were sitting in front of me. Now this gentleman, who's the applicant, first thing he says, "Madam, आप तो हमारी बिटिया जैसी लगती हैं." I said, fine. I did not say anything. So let's start with the proceedings, right? After 3 or 4 sentences, he again said, मैं आपको मैडम नहीं बोलूंगा, मैं आपको तो बिटिया बोलूंगा. I said, sir, please come to the point. Let's discuss the matter. Again, he started addressing me as a bitia. And now these 2 gentlemen from the company, they were furious. They thought that this person is emotionally blackmailing me to get something in his favor. I could just sense from their faces that, yes, what is going in their mind. They did not have any courage to say anything to me that, madam, please stop that gentleman from saying this. But I immediately understood what is going in their mind. So finally, with all due respect, I had to say to that person that, sir, I'm an arbitrator in this position. You have to address me as a madam. You can call me by my name, but kindly don't start establishing any relationship here. I'm on the seat of taking some decisions, and I'm really not going to appreciate the words you are using right now. Though I felt bad because he was a senior person, we have some soft corners ki bhi 70 ke upar ke hain, and he's asking something, bichare aise buzurg hain, aaye hain. But we have to do that. So those interpersonal skills, you should have that skill, how you are analyzing the faces of the people sitting in front of you. Then there was an interesting case when we were again in an arbitration proceeding, and the amount involved was quite huge. Say around, it was 7 to 8 crores matter was there, right? So since the amount stake was high, we were having representatives from both the side along with the team of lawyers. You won't say a single lawyer. Both sides, at least 7 to 8 lawyers were there, and both the key lawyers were the advocates of Supreme Court. We were a panel. We were 3 people. Me, one judicial person. Luckily, in that 3 matter, all those 3 panelists were the professionals. 2 chartered accountants, and I was a company secretary, because it was involved related to law only and some capital market trading, right? Now what they used to do, see, the professionals, the advocates, they all are friends outside the courtroom, right? So they had a pre-planning in their minds that how we are going to take the date, how we are going to get the adjournment, because the number of adjournments is there, their fees is increasing in that way. Sorry, I'm not specifying any advocates. This is what was happening that time. They used to come in the courtroom. They used to start typical proceedings, Civil Procedure Code, Indian Evidence Act. We have to do the examination in chief. We have to do the cross-examination, all those procedures. 2 hearings they wasted, same. And in 3rd hearing, we strictly said that, see, we are not bound by your CPC and Indian Evidence Act. We are here to decide as per the merit of the case, right? So you please come to the merits. So now they thought that, yes, ab kya kare? You won't believe, within 10 minutes, I don't know what isharas they made to each other. One person said some wrong word to the other person. They just got hold of the collars of each other. That was a situation we had to call the security. And we all knew, we 3 panelists knew that they all are creating drama just to take adjournment. So these are the situations you have to face as an arbitrator. You should be very sharp to understand what is going in the mind of the people. You have to analyze their body language. You have to analyze their how they are looking at each other, what their facial expressions are. I mean, you have to be very good in body language also, right? If you want to be actually you want to be an arbitrator. So that is all about the interpersonal skill. Then listening skill. Listening is very, very important. You cannot make presumptions in your mind. You should be patient enough. The person in front of you will say his story 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. Be patient, listen, and then make your conclusions. Next is the reading skill. More you are reading, the documents, the case laws, the relevant laws, the more better arbitrator you are. Writing skills, definitely writing skill is one of the most important feature, because when you are drafting an award, your award can be challenged on the basis of the way you are drafting. Whenever you are drafting an award, you have to specify on what grounds you have taken a decision. Those reasons, entire scenario, how the who were the parties involved, what was the case, what were the pleading given, and how you came to that conclusion. Unless and until you have given the reason for your outcome, whatever decision you have taken, your award is not valid and it can be set aside by the court. So you can understand your image as an arbitrator, it is going to get diminished because your order has been set aside on the basis of the defects in order award. So you have to be very good in writing your presentation, how you have to understand what are the basics of the arbitral award. So these are the things we definitely, if Pensesar starts this particular all these process, we will try to incorporate how to write an award, what are the basic laws which we should know if we want to act as arbitrator. And even I would say not only acting as an arbitrator. Again, I'll give sorry, I'm giving more and more example because I think that would be a more interactive manner. There was a company, a client company, it was a professional client company, which was having some contract with the Gas Authority of India Limited. So there was some dispute and the Gas Authority of India invoked the this arbitration clause, right? So what happened that they sent notice to my client and somehow my client did not, he was a bit lazy or I don't know what happened, they did not responded. So what they did, they gave one or two notice, and that after that they appointed a judge who was on their panel and made an ex parte decision, right? So as a professional, we were like, we wanted to challenge that particular award. So what was the reason? As I told you, there are very few situations in which court will entertain an appeal against an award, right? So in that case, we had to just do the postmortem of the entire award. Because हमें point निकालना है. We have to file an application. So that was in our hand कि हम उसको कैसे interpret करते हैं, what are the flaws we can find out, and accordingly file an application. So that is also an area. Suppose there is some, you are a party to an arbitration and some arbitration has been done against you. If you're aware of these knowledge, you can definitely go for an appeal or you can take a corrective measures. So that is the basic purpose of informing all of these things. Now, qualification and training. To be a lawyer, you need to study law, but for being an arbitrator, you just need to know the law. Law plus your particular technical expertise. That is the only qualification required. So Arbitration and Conciliation Act doesn't require any specific requirement. Till the time you are an educated person, you can do the arbitration, you are sound mind, you can do the arbitration. There were some amendments in the act. Now it is still in process. So most probably they will come out with some qualification might be, but that is slightly doubtful because it is being, not very much appreciated to specify the qualifications, because they say that when you are giving liberty to the parties, let them decide on whom they want to rely. So that is the thing. Now, apart from that, there are certain institutions which are giving training for arbitration, like Nani Palkiwala, they are giving around a 1 month training if in case you want to be an arbitrator. So simultaneously, our PTA arbitrator is also planning to design a particular course, and that course will cover all these aspects which I have discussed. What are the basic laws which as an arbitrator you are supposed to know, how you have to do the arbitral proceedings, how you are going to draft the award. Yes,
may I interrupt you?
Yes, sir, please.
Our institute, Cost Accountants of India, is also giving the training, certificate course on that.
In fact, all the three institutes, CSCS and CMA, all three are giving this arbitration.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes. So there are few prominent institutional arbitration centers like Indian Council of Arbitration, New Delhi, ICC Council of Arbitration, Kolkata, Nani Palkiwala, New Delhi, and Delhi International Arbitration. So these are some organizations which are already in existence, right? Now, if we talk about our PTA arbitrators, Pince sir has given a brief introduction, and I think whatever I read and I came across through the search and all those things. So Pensisa, I'm just doing whatever I have read from some of your interviews,
You're welcome.
right? So in case there is any discrepancy, kindly correct me. So it is first of its kind in the city, and it is covering the central India and Vidarbha. Because right now the majority of arbitral institutions are in the metros, right? So it is not possible, because again, if a person is coming from say Nagpur to Delhi to get the arbitration done, it is of no use actually, right? If you want to go for institutional arbitration. So PTA arbitrator is going to provide you a platform for conducting arbitration at your doorstep, right? Then litigants need not go to the metros. Aim is to solve the techno-legal commercial disputes. So technical, legal, commercial. You have to be expert in all these things. You should know what are the commercials. You should know what is the law and what is the expertise involved in that particular matter, right? Then aims to provide infrastructural facilities also. So they are going to frame their bylaws, how the proceedings will be conducted, where it can be conducted, who can be the arbitrators. There will be a panel of arbitrators. So in case there is any dispute, that can be readily referred without going to the court of law, right? Then intends to impart requisite skill and knowledge, which we have already discussed, that we'll try to develop a course and impart this particular training experience. Help in mediation and conciliation, because that is the start of all the arbitration proceedings. So if we go to the recent amendments, there are certain recent amendments in Arbitration Act. That is, appointment of tribunal in case parties fail to do so will be done by arbitral institutions recognized for the purpose. This is a major amendment in year 2019. That says that in case, because as I told you, that suppose there is a dispute between two parties and the two parties are not able to decide who is going to be the arbitrator. So they need to make an application to the Supreme Court in case of international and High Court in case of domestic. Now, as we know that courts are already overburdened. So it used to take a long time for the court to even decide who is going to be the arbitrator. Now they say that we will decide and we will make an arbitration council of India. That organization will be responsible for grading arbitral institutions. So it will be grading, it will be recognizing the institutions who can be used for the purpose of arbitration. So right now, so in that situation, whenever an application is made to High Court, that matter will be referred to the ACI. ACI will try to find out which arbitral institution is in that locality, and accordingly it will decide the arbitrators, right? So that is a way how we are going to get benefited by joining some institutions. Second, we have already discussed establishment of Arbitral Council of India to grade arbitral institutions, right? Third, parties challenging the award must rely on the record of arbitral tribunal. Now, this is again a very interesting thing. It says that suppose Mr. A and Mr. B were in a dispute. They took the matter for arbitration. Arbitral award has been given, right? With all proper award, we are talking about everything reasoned, all the evidences, whatever observation of the arbitrator was there, everything has been given. Somehow there was some loophole according to which this person, Mr. A, is making an appeal to the court. Now the court will not go beyond the documents or the reasonings given in the arbitral award. That means now Mr. A cannot give some new evidence that sir usme to dena reh gaya tha, ab ye baki reh gaya hai. He cannot do. So the court will rely on the arbitral award and the reasoning given therein, along with the documents and evidences, if any, only to decide that case. So this is again a very interesting thing, and it casts more responsibility on the arbitrators, that you have to be very vigilant what you are doing, how you are doing, what is the law you are following, what are the documents, what are the ways of evidence, whether you have given proper opportunity of being heard or not, whether you are relying on the principle of natural justice or not. So you have to take into account each and everything before you are finalizing an award, right? Then confidentiality of arbitral proceedings. Disclosure of arbitral award ought to be made only where it is necessary for implementing or enforcing the award. So you are not bound to give whatever award you have passed. You are not bound to circulate it to everywhere. Only where there is a legal requirement, that award will be presented. That means that there will be a confidentiality in the award given by you. Then further, there have been some timelines also. It says that pleadings have to be done in 6 months. So all the evidences, all the pleadings will be completed within a time of 6 months, right? And the order has to be given in next 12 months. That means first 6 months, you have to do all the hearing process, every pleading, and in next 12 months, you have to finalize the order. That can be extended by 6 months more with the consent of the parties. So when the two parties are there and they agree that nahi, 12 mahine mein nahi ho sakta, we need to extend it. So up to 6 months, it can be extended. For further extension, you need to approval of court. Then the qualification of appointment of arbitrator has been removed by the Amendment Act, and now they are getting some new insight on that how what should be the qualification of the arbitrators. But usually we expect that it won't be any restrictive type of thing. It will be always open, right? So we come to the conclusion part. As I told you, we have discussed a number of things that how ADR tool is going to benefit the professionals. So if you are a professional, you want to, and you are particularly have expertise in something. So whenever such type of situation is there, definitely you are going to get benefited out of it. So definitely suppose there is some architectural related matter. Pense sir will be the best person to understand what are the intricacies involved, or some financial matter, valuation matter is there. We can obviously say that Bhave sir is there. He's the best person to decide that how you have, what are the valuation, how valuation has been done, whether it is on proper manner or not. So you need to have some expertise. And as I said, for being a lawyer, you need to study law. For being an arbitrator, you need to know the law. So your knowledge, you need to polish. I'm not a law graduate, to be very honest. I'm a company secretary, I'm an insolvency professional, I'm a registered valuer, but I'm an arbitrator. I have not done law. But yes, I have that inclination towards the law. I keep on reading the judgments, whatever is coming across. So I have updated my knowledge to the extent it is required. If someone asks me what are the procedures under criminal procedures, I don't know. Sorry, I'll say I don't know. I'm not a criminal procedure expert. But yes, to some extent, what are the commercial acts are required? What are the CPC basics of CPC? How is the evidence being taken? So those things you have to keep in your mind, because many a time when you will be when your disputants will be represented by the lawyer or some person who's trying to just stray you from the path you are moving, you will have to be aware of what the law is. And obviously for the core area, you have to be very, very confident what your core area is. And most of the time, trust me, the tribunal always balances the position of the technical as well as the legal person, because they have to examine both the things. So suppose you as a civil engineer, you are on the panel and you are dealing with an advocate. So it is not like you will say that bhai law to hame nahi aata. At least you should know what are the laws which are applicable under the Arbitration Act, right? We don't need to strictly follow the CPC code. We don't need to strictly follow the Indians Evidence Act. But yes, we should know what is the base, what is the concept in that particular law. And accordingly, we can decide how we are going to adopt the same in our proceedings. So these are the basic backgrounds which I wanted to just discuss with you with some of my experiences. And so thank you to all. Let's now open up with the discussion part.
Yeah.
So in case you have any queries. Oh, let me quickly. Can you share your screen? Sorry, that time it was some glitch. OMG, delaying tactics. What about, sir, those tactics which I was telling you, those WWE fights?
Yes.
Yes, so that happens. That happens when we are facing. That's why we always prefer that the arbitration should be between the parties itself. But what happens, especially in the stock exchange matter, there is a constituent, right? He's the constituent who is the normal investor. He's doing some investment. And the second party is the company. Now, company is having that infrastructure, right? So what happens, they know that someone from their legal department will come. Someone from their corporate office will come to deal the matter, because apart from the money loss, they have that, face value also. So in that case, the person, many a times they also hire an advocate. So that process goes on. And really, that was the experience I told about that WWE fight. That was actually very pathetic. And you won't believe, we asked them to just leave the our room where the court proceedings were happening and come back after 15 minutes, right? We asked them to take a break. And you won't believe, we could see from the glass, they were like, "Arey yaar, koi baat nahi, chalta hai. Chalo chai pi kar aate hain itni der mein." And they were walking hand in hand, and they came back after a break, and everything was like normal. शिकवे शिकायतें तब भी थे कि नहीं मैम देखिए, आई डिडंट सेड एनीथिंग, इन्होंने ऐसा बोला, ही सेड नहीं सर आपने ऐसा मुझे टेम्प्ट कर दिया कि जब मुझे मेरे मुंह से निकल गया, एंड लाइक ऑल दोस थिंग्स. सो इट इज नॉर्मल थिंग. You have to be very, very cautious. That way as well, patience is very, very important. You have to be very patient with the stories, storylines. People come in front of you, they'll be crying, they'll be showing all the tears. Like as I told, आपको बेटी भी बना लेंगे, बेटा भी बना लेंगे, पापा भी बना लेंगे. That is all the tactics they are playing to just control you emotionally, or to just control your mind. Now, how vigilant you are, you have to be very, very practical at that time. You should be very firm. You should be very analytical, what they are saying, what documents they are presenting, what words they have used. You have to be very, very careful. Now, currently, I'm dealing in a case, again, it is a matter of a National Stock Exchange only. There was again some square off done in the, actually the person who was doing the trade, he was having some margin issues, right? So they informed that you have a deficiency in margin, because whenever we are doing the stock exchange trade, you are purchasing something. For that, you have to keep something in advance with the broker, so that in case there is any default, there is nothing like there are some restrictions imposed by the stock exchange, right? So they informed that person was in transit that time, he could not do that. So what the broker did, he squared off this position. That means whatever the position was, he sold it off. And the person has filed an application with what a statement. I felt like that my house has been auctioned. मेरे घर की नीलामी हो गई क्योंकि मैं इंस्टॉलमेंट नहीं दे पाया. This is a mental harassment to me, my wife. We all are feeling so bad. It has been a public humiliation and all those type of things in the entire complaint. I don't know how I'm going to handle that person, but this happens. We have to hear the other party's response, how they have acted, on what grounds they have acted. So these are the situations you have to face. So as an arbiter, since you are dealing one-to-one, it is an informal basically structure. So you have to rely on what they are saying. How to get empaneled and an arbitrator, how to start with, please guide. So see, first of all, as I told you, that if you want to get registered with some institutions right now, some institutions have some criteria that after 10 years or 15 years of experience only, they will register you as on their panel of arbitration, like Indian Council of Arbitration is having, say, around 15 years of experience, right? So first is that there are some organizations like we are coming across with PTA, right? They are not having any such limit as of now. Am I right, Pensisa?
Yes, very much.
Yes.
I would like to clear 2 points.
Yes, sir.
When somebody put my screen on, that video is stopped, I believe.
Yes, sir. You are audible, but your video is not there.
Okay. I'll give you 2 points.
Yes, sir.
The one is, I would like to correct, some press reporter came to me. He was from a local press, and he wanted to project that this organization is from Nagpur and it's a local organization. In fact, this organization is a national organization having head office in Nagpur.
Okay.
In fact, I have more members from, say, Telangana and Tamil Nadu, Goa and Delhi and whatnot. But,
so I think I got to reach to that report only.
he projected as if it is because he wanted the credit. Fair enough. I had nothing to say. Number one. Now, what I'm trying to project is this organization is meant for number of professionals who come with a different background. What is wrong with either ICAI, ICMI or other organizations is that when they teach only one particular group, naturally their experiences that they share during training is only restricted to one organization or with a one background. Whereas if they come to an organization where various people who want to learn something, who wants to pick up something, if they mix up with other people having a different background, their learning experience will also be more enriched. Even
Absolutely.
today, what is happening in even Delhi or Bombay, in case of Council of Arbitration, it is dominated by only lawyers. As a
Absolutely,
result,
sir.
as
Lawyers and
well as
judges
what
are
is
there.
happening when other professionals they join, they feel that there is much less for them, and only the focus is on legal aspect. Whereas Whereas the concept of arbitration is that a person should come with a different background because he is more considerate to that particular technical problem which has given rise to the dispute. Now, what is
Absolutely.
happening? Even when the majority of the retired judges, when they come with their background, they are excellent people, there is no doubt. But then they are more focused only on the legal aspects rather than technical aspects. So even if there are other people who are joining them with a different background, ultimately when they write the award, it is more focused only on the legal aspect. Now there is a chance for all these professionals with a different background to become an arbitrator and definitely to have a say in the award, and that will solve the problem in a far greater way, because these problems will not again land up with the Supreme Court just because some technical point is missed out while considering only the legal aspect. Now, this is the main concept to come up with the concept that all professionals should join the organization where if they have an attitude to become a very impartial person, a person who can be very articulate, a person who can draft an award very well without leaving any chance to say no by the Supreme Court just because you have not covered all these standard procedures of the court, then for them, the sky is the limit. And as you have rightly said, in coming periods, what is happening, even the bank ombudsman may be making a way to various charter accountants, cost accountants, and company secretaries to become an arbiter in such cases, even deciding the disputes like simple disputes, like somebody has not paid for the credit card and they, that bank don't want to go to court and simply for some meager amount. They want a quick decision and a negotiation whereby the dispute is solved. Now, this cannot be solved only by a person who is having a mere legal background, but it can definitely be solved by many people who have a background of financial assets and its valuation. Now, this is where I'm saying that there is a very great scope. There is a dearth of professionals in this field, and we must address to it, and it will help all the professionals from the various backgrounds very much. Now, wherever they may be, existence of this organization may be at Nagpur, but primarily this is an all India organization. Okay.
Absolutely, sir.
Yeah.
Great. So in coming years, most of the organizations, they are going to establish their arbitral panel, actually.
Yes.
Like
But
I told you about the GAIL. They are having a panel. They are having people, experts, different field. Right.
I had a discussion with board members of company secretaries organization, and I told them that you must have on your panel or for all your discussion or for learning other professionals which will enrich your own professionals.
Definitely.
If
Right.
you restrict them, then your professionals will be at loss at a later date.
Right. So as sir rightly told that this is an all India level organization, it is just because obviously we need a base office. So that base office is at Nagpur, and people from all over India, like we are having Indian Council of Arbitration, which is based in Delhi. This organization is based in Nagpur, but I think PTA is going to be more enriched with a diversified portfolio of people, because we are not going to have people like, if you talk about the different other organizations, what they do, they just admit it, they don't impart you any formal training, except one of 2 3 like Nani Palki Wala, they are doing some training programs. But in this we are planning to start as a proper training program for all the members who are being enrolled as a member of PTA. So we will be giving all the necessary requirements, so that in case you are facing you are doing an arbitration, you won't be like, इसमें क्या होता है, what we have to do, how we can proceed. Everything will be made clear to you. How you have to draft the award, what are the time limits, what are the applicable laws, what are the contract act, that is the most important, what, how the Indian constitution works. So all those things we need to just understand, and then only work in as a proper arbitrator. So just taking up few questions. First is what are the professional avenues? So professional avenues, definitely, as I told you, you are already working as a professional, and the more your fame is as particular professional. Suppose you are an architect and you are also you have a good fame, I would say, well reputed professional, right? So in that case, if you are having knowledge of arbitration also, you have legal knowledge also, so in case any such situation arises, you can get yourself impaneled with the organizations like real estate companies. They are also now starting the arbitral panel, right? Because whenever there is a dispute, one arbitrator has to be invoked from the panel, right? So all those opportunities are there from the different fields. I'm not aware from what other different fields you are there. Like sir was telling that he is on panel of Anjan sir was saying, and Pense sir was also on the panel of high courts, right? So that is also an opportunity, right? Then now how to get empaneled as an arbitrator, how to start with, please guide that. We were already discussing that you can join some organization, gain some experience, not only experience, I would say it would be a training process, so that you can
Initial
understand what are the.
education, learning is also important.
Definitely sir, it is very very important, very vital, because as I told you na, घुमा देंगे आपको लोग if you are not aware of the things. It would be very tough for you to take the decision, right? And then can arbitral proceeding be done using video conferencing? Definitely sir, right now I'm doing all the arbitral proceedings through video conferencing only, right? Then how did you get impaneled with NSC? Sir, ये कौन मेरा secret पूछ रहा है? अच्छा, Ajay Joshi ji. So actually they have some criteria, some minimum years of experience as a professional, and then they have their own rule book according to which you have to qualify, and they make like impaneling for 5 years or 5 years usually they do, depending on the performance of the arbitrator. So in my span of almost, I am going to complete 5 years right now. So I think I've conducted more than 60 to 70 individual cases. And apart from that, as a tribunal, as an appellate also, we have an appellate tribunal also. So as a member of appellate tribunal, I've also done a number of cases. Can't hear, sir. Who is, now I'm audible, sir?
Yeah.
Okay. Then what is the eligibility criteria for becoming an arbitrator, and how does one choose which is the arbitration body to join? So there is no eligibility criteria. As I told you now, that for practicing as a lawyer, you need to study law. For practicing as a chartered accountant, you need to pass the exam of CA Institute, right? But for the purpose of arbitrator, there is no such requirement. You are of sound mind, you are you have a repute, you have some technical knowledge of which people will think that definitely you can do some value addition. In that case, you can be an arbitrator. Organization, that depends. You have to see what are the different, what are the prospects of the organizations, because as I told you right now, the proposal is to form an arbitral council of India, and they are going to recognize the arbitral institutes, right? So they are also going to recognize those institutes which are having members, well-trained members, I would say, not just admitting as a member, right? So you have to, accordingly, you have to seek your choice. Then excellent explanation by Pente sir. Thank you so much, sir, on behalf of Pente sir. Kindly share for the link for joining. Sir, you need to, you are getting some members, so you need to share the link.
Even Mr. Bhave can forward it to all the participants, no problem. Those
Okay,
who are
sir.
interested.
Okay, sir. So Bhavi sir is there?
I think he's
Sir,
there.
Bhavi sir,
If-
are you
if-
online?
If not, they can definitely write to me. My number I'll share with everyone, which is 937-310-7027. It's available on WhatsApp also, and you can ask for this form. I'll send it to you.
Sir, there is
Shall I
another
repeat
question for
again?
the. Yes,
Shall I
sir,
repeat
please.
Number 937-310-7027.
So Pencil sir, can you please just write on in the chat box so that it will be easy
Yeah.
for the
Okay.
people to note
Right.
it down. Is it mandatory that you're writing question like for the professionals like CA, CWA, CS? Is it mandatory that he or she is a practicing person? No, this is not a requirement for being an arbitrator. You can be any one person. But yes, in case of government organizations, like if I'm talking about the NSE, yes, they have this criteria because they have some their internal rules that you have to follow. But apart from that, if someone asks you to be act as an arbitrator, it is not a compulsory that you have to be in practice. Princess, you have kindly just give the details in the link here.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
What is the typical fee structure for arbitration? So, as per Arbitration Act, they have given a schedule, right? But that schedule is not mandatory. So, depending on the level of arbitrator you are, like if we talk about the judges, they are charging a hefty fees. I know about some judges who just by arbitration doing it, they're retired people. Their income is more than 3 CR per annum, just only out of arbitration proceedings. So again, that depends on your contacts, that depend on your exposure and your visibility in the public, how much visible you are, what is your name and fame, that all depends on it. Arbitration decision can be challenged in court. Yes, it can be challenged, but there are very limited situations in which it can be challenged, right? So it usually court don't interfere in the decision taken by the arbitrator. But yes, there are certain grounds, as we discussed. The court can set aside an arbitral award, like there is a section 34 in the Arbitration Act, which says that these are few conditions in which if you file an appeal, so the court may order that yes, this arbitration, the arbitrator is not an independent person, or the arbitrator is not qualified to handle the situation. In those cases, the court may consider, but usually court don't interfere. So suppose there has been an arbitration proceedings there, and that too we have to do it within 3 months. So in case you want to challenge it, you have to challenge within 3 months from the date of award. And after that, those expiry of those 3 months, this award is enforceable as a decree. So you can make an application. Suppose the other party is not doing its part, you can make an application to the court and ask that, yes, I want the execution degree. You can file an execution petition, and then your award will be executed. Avenues of arbitration in small cities. Sir, I would say it is more in small cities, because now people are understanding what is the situation. So, as a professional, you must have encountered situation. Now, you don't usually go for the oral commitments. आप भी हर चीज लिखित में लिखते होगे. That's, let's say, signed an agreement. There is some situation, professional arrangement between two parties. So you prefer to get it in writing mode. And in that, usually people are doing, especially in small cities, they are saying that, yes, let us incorporate an arbitration clause. This is now a sort of becoming a part of that particular agreement. Even for valuation, I told you, in my valuation scope of work, I always incorporate an arbitration clause. In IBC cases, arbitration clause is always there. So more and more people are now switching over to arbitration mode. Can architect be arbitrator between client and builder, where same architect has prepared the plan of the building? This is common in many buildings. So if the party is see, if you are interested party, right, and you have disclosed it, and the third party means the client is okay with it, then you can act. But if you have not disclosed it, or the other party who is not the one in which you are interested, right? So in that case, if that party raises an objection at later stage that yes, we were not informed that this person is a interested party, then it cannot be done. So in usual cases, the arbitrator has to be impartial, independent person. So as to my understanding, you should not be an arbitrator in such situations, because you'll be having a vested interest in that. Can one be member of two arbitral? Absolutely, sir. There is no restriction. You can be member of 5 arbitral institutions, whatsoever you want, because more and more you are getting exposure. That is better for you. You are giving your key skills that yes, these are my key skills. These are the areas I'm working to, and whichsoever arbitral institution receives that request, they can always forward to you. So with the coming of Arbitral Council of India, the situation of professionals in arbitration is going to increase immensely. And that's why I was saying that Pense sir has taken a very right decision at a very right time. Because by the time those procedures will be done, this organization will be having a very diversified professionals in its kitty, those two well trained, right? So well trained, properly, who are able to do the arbitral proceedings, who are in perfect position to draft the orders, who are awards, and further they know the entire proceedings. So if you when the grading process will start by the ACI, definitely you'll get a higher grade, and in case any matter comes to the court, you will be referred according to the location of your members. Being limited time, how many adjournment can be allowed? So that is entirely on the arbitral tribunal. It is nothing like you can give only 2 or 3 time bound. You have been given a time within 6 months. Now you have to complete the initial proceedings, and within the next 12 months you have to do the order part. So many situations, now with the upcoming arbitral institutions, they may make their own bylaws also. So accordingly you have to do. So you can do the adjournments as you want, but obviously you have to give the opportunity. The principle of natural justice you have to follow. Do we need to get any certificate from anybody? No, sir. No certificate is required. Till now, no certificate is required. Maybe there is an amendment in 2020 and they are coming up with some regulations, then I cannot say. But as on date, no certificate.
I'll give you my experience, madam.
Yes, sir. Yes,
just a minute. See, what I expect, what happened in the field of valuers in the past, earlier, valuers were registered under section 34A and B, where Income Tax Divisional Commissioner admitted valuers without any particular education or examination. Now that things changed when IBBI came into existence. They refused to even recognize those valuers having even 30 or 40 years of experience in the field of valuation, and asked them to give exam. I had taught many valuers who are above 70 years, and the poor people, they studied hard and cleared that exam because that was their bread and butter and jam and whatever you may say. Now, see, on the contrary, when the Architects Council came into existence in 1972, they allowed all the existing architects who were practicing, either architect or even civil engineer, as an architect having surveyor's license, they were accepted as architects. But later, from 72 onward, they said now those who wants to become an architect, they will have to give exam, they will have to qualify for it. Now, that is my appeal to all these professionals, that it may happen that after that law come into existence, those who are recognized by the institute as a professional or who are in the field at whichever level, they may be accepted without any training or examination as a requisite whatever requirement. But those who want to join at a later date, they may have to undergo some training. They may have to undergo again examination. So it will become more difficult for these professionals who are eligible today to become an arbitrator at a later date. Whereas
Absolutely, sir. Yeah.
Whereas if they want to take little risk, join and get a recognition, then it may be possible for them to skip and avoid all these things which are unnecessary disturbance in their existing profession. Because this is an additional profession, this is a complementary profession for everyone, and it will enhance their experience and knowledge even in existing profession. But if they are asked to again undergo training and examination, it will definitely mean that many professions may turn away from this profession. So for these professionals, this is the right opportunity to join us and uh, take advantage of the time that we have today. So that is why I have started this organization as a little early than or even before the law comes into existence. I have started this organization and okay.
That's why I said that, sir, you have taken this equipped with a good amount of professionals and that too trained
Yes,
and
we have a
having
very,
proper knowledge
very
of the
large
proceedings.
number of professionals with a diversified background, and that will give us an edge over
Definitely,
many,
100%, sir.
many organizations.
Yes, sir. So, Anjan, sir, you want to say something, I suppose.
Short point. That is with respect to the executions part of it. You have given an excellent rendition of the remaining portion of the Arbitration Act. Now, Section 36, which is in respect of execution and recovery. Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
very much. Very much.
Am I audible?
Yes, yes. Please go ahead.
Now, Section 36, earlier, what was the procedure? That in case you file a proceeding under Section 34 of the Arbitration Act challenging the award, then in that case, there was an automatic stay. But now that provision has been amended,
Yeah.
and the Supreme Court has said that this applies to all the existing arbitration proceedings also. So you don't have to wait for execution for a period of 90 days. Moment you get a decree, as you have rightly said, that award acts as a decree. So moment you get a decree, you can file an execution proceeding. The other side will try to get a stay along with the application which they have filed under Section 34. So Section 36(3) states about the application which has to be filed for getting a stay. Unless and until a specific stay has been obtained, the execution cannot be stayed. Earlier on, the stay was automatic. Now the stay is not automatic. You have to get a stay along with the proceeding under Section 34. Then alone the execution is stayed. So therefore, parties have to rush, although the limitation is 90 days, but parties will have to rush to file their proceeding under Section 34, and therein they will have to seek a stay under Section 36(3). Sometimes what happens is the parties file an application under Section 9. Earlier on, they used to file because Section 9 says that you can get an interim order in respect of an award which has already been passed or which is yet to be passed. But now Section 9 is not relevant. So far as getting stay to the award, you have to file that application under Section 36(3). So therefore, we have to be cautious that this stay is not automatic. So if you are the decree holder, then you can go in for the execution. And even there are decisions that the government can't be treated specially. Even an award which has been passed against the government will have to be dealt with under Order 41, Rule 5 and Rule 3. What happens is that this decree has to be dealt with as in the procedure of CPC. So normally what happens, when there is a money decree, as is normally the case, then in that case, you have to follow the rules of a money decree, where normally the money is required to be deposited when the decree has been passed as a condition of getting a stay. So you have to move into provisions under Order 41 and see whether a stay can be obtained by depositing some money. So therefore, in an execution proceeding, you can go ahead and get that particular stay or opposed or whatever on this ground.
That's great, sir. That's great insight. Great insight. So
There-
that's why I said that I need to learn a number of things with you.
there is one more point, what
Yes, sir.
I should have said earlier, but now I forgot. Dr. Anjan Dey, he is a doctor in laws, but he is very right in saying that when we quantify our award, which means transaction of money, and I think that is precisely where all the valuers, they have an edge over many other professionals when you quantify it. And that is why repeatedly I'm appealing all these professionals that they should consider this as a profession, because they are not aware how much they are losing if they are not joining this profession merely because of unawareness, I would say, about the details of this profession. I hope this will open them a very good window, another window to their existing profession.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. I would just definitely ditto your thoughts, because yes, this is the right time to join this profession
Right.
before all the proceedings started, because
Yes.
maybe that in that scenario we'll be getting a transition period. But for the new entrants, might be situation will be quite different, because now they have said that they will provide regulations. Now, what those regulations is, we don't know. So by that time, if you're a member of some arbitral institutions, definitely it is going to give an edge. Absolutely correct, sir. Last question in this, ma'am, international disputes are also largely resolved through arbitration today. So could you give an insight on the career opportunities in India and abroad? Definitely, sir. Indian international arbitration, there's a separate part in Arbitration Act where foreign awards are being executed. Foreign international arbitration are being done. But yes, some relaxation have been given under the act for the international scenario. So yes, there's good opportunity. So
Shall I say add something to this, madam?
yes, sir. Please, please.
Yeah. You see, at present, only Singapore
Ji.
and Hague and London, they
And
are
Hong
the
Kong also, I
three-
suppose. They're also giving.
Singapore, Hague, and London, they
Okay.
are the only three biggest name in international arbitration. However, you will find that as far as India is concerned, it is a sleeping giant, because this profession is not developed here to that extent. Whereas in terms of development, in terms of transaction, when we are talking about 3 trillion and 5 trillion economy, I think you imagine the magnitude of disputes which will be solved outside India, which can be solved within India and by the Indian professionals. Today,
Right.
all this money and all is going abroad. Perhaps you can restrict it and you can master it. Please take note of it.
Yes, sir, definitely. Because the aim of the legislation is to basically widen the scenario for the international arbitrations. They
True.
want to make India as a hub of international arbitrations.
True.
That is
Very-
what government is acting on. And that's why this constitution of ACI, because ACI is going to create arbitral institutions, both for the purpose of Supreme Court, that means for international arbitrations, as well as the High Court, which are dealing with the domestic arbitrations.
True.
So that is the scenario, and definitely I would really appreciate that. Yes, whatever Pentse sir has said, that India is sooner or later going to be a hub of arbitrations. How can we get recognized as an arbitrator in small cities without having a recognized certificate? So certificate actually is not recognized, but yes, being a member. Suppose I'm telling you that I'm a member of Indian Council of Arbitration, because till that time PTA was not there. I was not aware of the PTA, and my membership is quite an old one. So if I tell somebody that yes, I'm a member of Indian Council of Arbitration, right? there is automatically as madam kis tarike ke arbitrations. So I used to tell them that like what type of arbitrations I have dealt with, shareholders disputes, or there is some exit opportunity or related to some valuation. Definitely, sir, it is word to mouth. You will get transferred by communication between different people, and they will come to know. And then when they are forming the arbitration agreement, they will definitely refer your name, because many a time, most of the time, when we are talking about the small agreements, the name of the arbitrator is being mentioned also there with the consent of both the parties.
And it is a job of institution to also recommend the right professional for the right assignment, considering not
Definitely,
only
sir.
the background, but also the geological situation.
Absolutely, sir. In case that is the advantage of the joining an institution, because in that case, the disputes are coming to the institution only, and they are saying that yes, this is my dispute. Now, give who can be the arbitrator. This is institution is going to provide that what is the geographical location, what are the situations, who are the right person to deal such type of dispute, and who are right person from their panel, and definitely they are going to recommend that.
True.
Is the membership registration to the institute ICAs always for? Yes, sir. It is for life. Foreigners do not agree with Indian laws but insist on their laws of the country. I have faced many such situations and solved the matters through consulate or trade officials. Yes, sir, I do agree. But that is what the India is planning to develop, because one, the consolidated law, which we are talking about, the UN model laws, they are to some extent being accepted by all the countries, and they all are just trying to modify their laws to make a something to get a consensus on international level. So that is in process now. Government has realized, and they are really working hard on it, and probably in near future you won't face that problem.
So one more point, madam.
Yes, sir.
What Mukund Puranik is asking, or he is telling, is an old story. That time India was never recognized as an economic power, was
Yes.
never recognized as a political power with clout. Today, when it is been accepted, all those things will dissipate, and people will fall in line and will definitely come to India to resolve their problems.
Yes, sir. Definitely. India is going to be a arbitration hub soon, just like Singapore. They are going. They'll be soon coming to India also, because we are having more diversified professionals, and the most important thing, the economical approach. That is always a plus point for India.
Yes.
So, any more questions? Thank you, Anuradha, for a great insight. Thank you so much, sir. Kazi sir, thank you so much.
So I thank Anuradha ji for the excellent presentation and a lot of knowledge that she has shared with us. And I'm sure we will have more and more from her in future. And particularly to those who join us as a member, they will definitely gain a lot from her. So good night to everyone. It was a nice discussing with everyone. And my many thanks to Anuradha ji and
Thank you so much,
Rammohan
sir.
Bhavi. Very nice session, very live webinar.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank
And
you.
thanks to everyone for bearing me with full patience. It was, I was like, कितना आप मुझे झेल पाओगे, but it has been a good experience. आप सबने मुझे बहुत lively झेला. So thanks a lot. It was a wonderful.
Madam, true, this is a very dry subject, but you made it very lively and I think kept everyone engaged, which is very important. Very important.
Yes, sir.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much, sir. I tried my best. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. Raviraj, should we just log off? Thanks for the session. Thank you. Thank you for such a nice session. Thank you, Anuradha ma'am, sir. Thanks. Excellent presentation. Kindly share the presentation. Definitely, sir. I'll do that. Thank you, ma'am. Yes, sir. So thank you. Thanks a lot for liking my session. Once you get appreciation, definitely your efforts get a success. And thanks, Anjan sir, for all the insights. I'll keep troubling you in case I get stuck up somewhere.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, sir. So can we log up, sir?
Yeah.
Bhavi, sir?
I think he's not there, but yes, you can. No problem.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Good night to everyone. Bye.